What's up guys, Harvick99 here, back with another video. Welcome to Rating Every 2024 Darlington Throwback Part 2, the Xfinity series. Last time we did the truck series, and those throwbacks were pretty good. Let's see what the Xfinity series has to offer. First up, we have Cole Custer's throwback to Johnny Sauter. This is a really good looking throwback. I love the tiger stripes on this. They recreated the paint scheme very well. Though one thing I did notice is the logo placements are backwards. On the original scheme, the yellow logo is straight across on the hood and diagonal above the wheel well, the rear wheel well. And on the throwback, it's diagonal on the hood and straight above the wheel well. That's just something I noticed. It's not really a nitpick. Again, just something I noticed. It's not something that's wrong with the throwback. It's just something that caught my eye. But, yeah. Really great throwback. And coincidentally enough, or maybe they did this on purpose, it's a throwback to a Haas CNC racing car, which, if you don't already know, Stewart Haas Racing will be shutting down after this season, but Gene Haas will hang on to one of his Cup charters and run his own Cup team, like Haas CNC Racing before the partnership with Tony Stewart. And he'll also field a two-car Xfinity team. So, yeah. Stewart Haas will still exist in some form after this season, but without Tony Stewart's involvement. But that's enough about that. Let's continue with the throwback. Yeah. Great throwback. It's beautiful. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Dawson Cram's throwback to Paul Wireman, who is, I believe, either the owner or an executive, a higher up at ProLube. I don't remember, and I don't feel like looking it up. But yeah, it's a pretty good looking throwback. It's completely 1-to-1. Not really much else that I gotta say here. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Patrick Emmerling's throwback to Jan Leedy. Patrick Emmerling has a thing for doing modified throwbacks, I've noticed. And what I like about all of his throwbacks is that it has like the I think those are called the bumper bars on the sides of the car and on the front bumper. That's a really nice touch. It's a good throwback and good way to pay tribute to his crew chief. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Justin Allgaier's throwback. To what exactly? Well, to no one. It's a company throwback. Which, yeah. If you've been a frequent viewer of the channel, you know how I feel about company throwbacks. But this one, it's not as egregious as some other ones that we've seen in the past. It's fine. 5 out of 10. Next up, we have Sammy Smith's throwback to Mike Brooks. I don't really have much to say about this throwback, other than, of course, it's 1-to-1, since the original car is just all black. So, easy car to do a throwback for. But I do like the silver with the orange outline on the throwback. It looks really good in my opinion. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Brandon Jones's throwback to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Very random paint scheme to do a throwback for. but they pulled it off well. One big nitpick I have, though, is the shade of yellow is wrong. I get that with Menards, they have to run a neon yellow car, but do they really have to for every race? Would it kill them to go one race without running neon yellow? It's a good throwback, but the shade of yellow is it just bothers me. I don't I don't like it. 7 out of 10. Next up, we have Hailie Deegan's throwback to Dale Earnhardt. Oh boy, another Wrangler throwback. Not like this throwback has been done many times before. Honestly, the Wrangler car is probably the most overdone throwback in the history of Throwback Weekend. It's been milked to absolute death. But this is still a really good throwback. They got the number font right. They did their best to replicate the Wrangler logo. And one thing that I love is, you know how they have the Wrangler horse there? They have the Ford Mustang horse on the hood, which that's a really nice detail. And I also love how they have the white rims on there, like on the original car. Milked throwback, very overdone and unoriginal, but they pulled it off really well. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Sheldon Creed's throwback to Ivan Stewart. I initially thought that this was a company throwback, but no, it's an actual throwback to an actual driver. In this case, a throwback to Ivan Stewart. And yeah, the paint scheme is 1-to-1. And it's even got the same sponsor, Toyota. I don't have anything else to add. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Austin Hill's throwback to nobody. Just like Justin Allgaier's, it's a company throwback. It's based off the color scheme of a Bennett 18-wheeler. And it looks good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really like company throwbacks, but if they're good, then they're good. 7 out of 10. Next up, we have John Hunter Nemechek's throwback to nobody. It's another company throwback. This one, it's fine. I would prefer if they ran an actual throwback to an actual driver. Company throwbacks are they're lazy in my opinion. I'm okay with them as long as they look good. This one is just 5 out of 10. Next up, we have Jeb Burton's throwback to his father, Ward Burton. This isn't actually a throwback scheme. They're just running a throwback number, which is something unique. I don't think that's been done before, except by them. They did the same thing last year at this same race. And I don't feel like I should rate this throwback, since there's no actual throwback paint scheme. It's just a throwback number. But I still thought that I should mention it, since I believe I neglected to include it in last year's video. So it won't get a rating, but it will get a mention. Moving on. Next up, we have Blaine Perkins' throwback to Cale Yarborough, the late great Cale Yarborough. This is a beautiful throwback. Everything about this is perfect. The number, the font of the sponsor, which is just To The Point Racing, the team that he drives for. Everything is it's perfect. It's a 1-to-1 throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Parker Retzlaff's throwback to Harry Gant. Harry Gant is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated drivers in the history of NASCAR, and it's great to see him getting thrown back to. And they did a really good job replicating the paint scheme. They got the number font right, they got the paint scheme right, they even got the Funkaway logo in the skull font. And I guess that's supposed to be the Funkaway logo. I'm not sure. I can't really tell with this render, but they've got it above the Funkaway logo, like how it was on the original car with the Skull Bandit. That's really nice touch. And yeah, great throwback. They did a really good job with this one. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Chad Fincham's throwback to Kevin Harvick. The Kevin Harvick throwbacks just keep coming. Last year, there were like 3 of them in the Xfinity race. And good to see that we're still running Kevin Harvick throwbacks this year. This is absolutely beautiful. I love how Garrison Homes and Adkins Automotive stylize their logos to look like the Goodwrench logo. I love it when sponsors say screw you to brand guidelines and change their logos for throwback accuracy. I always love it when they do that. And they get bonus points for throwing back to the undisputed GOAT. Can never go wrong with a Kevin Harvick throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Ryan Sieg's throwback to his 2008 gas super late model. The flame design is a little bit different than on the original car, but it looks better than the original, in my opinion. It's a pretty great throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Leland Honeyman Jr.'s throwback to Kyle Petty's iconic Mellow Yellow car. The Mellow Yellow throwback has been done before, and the best iteration of that was Kyle Larson's back in 2015. This is still a great rendition of the Mellow Yellow car, although the shade of green is a little bit off. I just noticed that, but that's just a minor nitpick. What I love is that Young's Building stylized their logo to look like the Mellow Yellow logo. That's always a good thing to see on throwbacks. But yeah, great looking throwback despite the incorrect shade. 10 out of 10. Beautiful. Next up, we have Ryan Ellis's throwback to Colt Trickle. Throwback Weekend has existed for, almost a decade now, and yeah, the City Chevrolet car has been milked to death. But it still looks great. It's an overdone throwback, but it's done really well. I love how Classic Collision stylized their logo to look like the City Chevrolet logo. Like I've said many times before, many times in this video, I love it when sponsors are willing to change their logos for throwback accuracy. And yeah, great throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Brennan Poole's throwback to Kyle Petty's iconic Hot Wheels car. Again, I love how C&W and Sons changed their logo to look like the Hot Wheels logo. And the number is accurate on top of that. This throwback was done 3 years ago, I think, by Brandon Godovic in the Xfinity race. And that one was great. This one is better, since it's got the accurate number. Beautiful throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Parker Kligerman's throwback to Scott Borchetta. 2 things I want to say. One, the shade of blue is a little off. On the original truck, it was a little bit darker. And two, it would have been nice if Big Machine Racing changed the number font to match the number font on the original scheme. But those are just two minor nitpicks I wanted to make. It's still a good-looking throwback. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Jeremy Clements' throwback to Robert Presley. Jeremy Clements always has great throwbacks, and this one is no different. What I love about this throwback is that while the sponsor isn't the same, it's got the same name, Alliance, which I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or if that was purposeful, but either way, it's great. And I love how they have the gold rims on there, like on the original scheme. Beautiful, beautiful throwback. 10 out of 10. I feel like I'm being too generous, but I'm not. I hope I'm not, at least. These are they're really great throwbacks, and anything less than a 10 would be an insult. Next up, we have Chandler Smith's throwback to himself, a throwback to his late model days. It's a simple paint scheme, so I can imagine they had no problem replicating it on this car. It's a really good looking throwback. Though I'd noticed on the original scheme, it's got two different shades of red. Dark red on the front of the back, and regular red in the middle. From this photo, it's hard to say whether they did that color pattern. It just looks like a singular solid red color. It would have been cool if they replicated the color pattern. And it also would have been nice if they changed the number font to match the 26 font on the late model. But still, a really good throwback nonetheless. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Josh Bilicki's throwback to Justin Allgaier. This isn't really a throwback to Justin Allgaier per se. It's more a throwback to Circle B Diecast's first foray into NASCAR sponsorship. And it's really great. What would have been cool is if Circle B Diecast rebranded back to Plan B Sales for one day only. That would have been nice, but that's not really a nitpick, just something that I thought would have been cool. One big nitpick I do have is the colors are wrong. The original scheme was black with a slightly darker shade of baby blue. On the throwback, it's gray with a slightly lighter shade of baby blue. And the stripe going down the top of the car is disconnected from the gray. On the original scheme, it was connected to the gray. And it was one singular stripe, not a big one and a small one. Yeah, this throwback is, while it looks great, it's not completely one-to-one. I'm sorry, I had to point it out. It's great, don't get me wrong, but it's not entirely accurate. Get mad at me all you want in the comments, but you know I'm right. I want to give this throwback a 10 out of 10, but all the inaccuracies just bring the throwback down. 7 out of 10. Next up, we have Shane Van Gisbergen's throwback to Marco Sambros. I and many other people were absolutely geeking when this throwback was revealed. It's beautiful. It's a Kiwi throwing it back to an Aussie. It's a great throwback to a great driver from Down Under. 10 out of 10. And for our final throwback, we have Riley Herbst's throwback to his father's off-road truck team, which was also sponsored by Terrible Herbst. It's a plain red truck, so a plain red throwback. Well, mostly plain red. You got the Monster logo on the quarter panel with the added black, which I don't get why they have to do that on every paint scheme. Does it like say it on the sponsorship contract that the Monster logo has to be on a black background? It ruins the look of some schemes. And I just don't get why they have to do that. It kind of ruins this throwback. If it was just all red with no black, it'd be easy 10 out of 10. But as is with the black, I gotta dock a few points. 8 out of 10. And that concludes part 2 of rating every 2024 Darlington throwback. What do you think? Was I too generous with my ratings? Do you think some of these throwbacks should have been rated higher? Do you think some should have been rated lower? How would you rate these throwbacks? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more of me, be sure to follow my socials, like my Twitter, my Instagram, my Threads, and join my Discord server. Links to all those are in the description down below. Leave a like on the video, and subscribe to my channel for more motorsports content. Thank you all so much for watching. That's it from me. Peace.